Hi, I'm Peter Tragos, host of the Lawyer You Know podcast and YouTube channel. The saying goes, everyone hates lawyers until you need one. Well, I'm here when you need one to answer your questions and give you insight that you didn't know you needed. Along with my partners, Pete Sardis, the professor, who has a finance and business background, and George Tragos, my dad, and the consigliere, a criminal defense giant, we can answer any questions you have.
Hello and welcome again to the Lawyer You Know. Well, President Biden has made his choice, and he has chosen one of the three people on the short list that we talked about before, and this is Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He picked her over the other two candidates on the short list. If you saw our previous video, you know that I favored Judge Childs from South Carolina. And the reason I favored her is because although I know that we're talking about the fact that this is going to be historic, that we're going to be appointing a black woman to the Supreme Court, I was hoping for someone that broke the other molds as well to the Supreme Court. And you'll see during this video that she fits into so many of the categories that all the other Supreme Court justices fall into. Childs would have broken that mold. She went to the University of South Florida, not Harvard or Yale. She went to the University of South Carolina for law school. She came up in a working class family. She was raised by a single mother. So she has a lot of the life experiences a lot of people in this country face and have seen that none of the other Supreme Court justices have seen. Just as an example, what's the history that we're talking about here? Well, first, right now on the Supreme Court, we have 3 Harvard graduates, we have 4 Yale graduates, and we have 1 from Notre Dame, the most recent appointment, Justice Barrett. Justice Jackson is 51 years old. Justice Barrett is 50 years old. So she will be the second youngest justice on the Supreme Court if she is confirmed. We have a history of appointing, this is the minority appointments that have gone on. We have the first black Supreme Court Justice, Thurgood Marshall, appointed by a Democrat, Lyndon Johnson. Then we have the second, which is Clarence Thomas, and he was appointed by H.W. Bush, a Republican. Then we have Sandra Day O'Connor, the first woman on the Supreme Court, was appointed by President Reagan, a Republican. Then you have Justice Ginsburg, that was appointed by President Clinton. Then you have Justice Barrett, appointed by President Trump. And then Sotomayor and Kagan were appointed by Obama. The District of Columbia Court, that is where right now Judge Jackson is serving, the District of Columbia Circuit Appellate Court. And no surprise, Roberts, Kavanaugh, Thomas, 3 of the current justices also came from that same Supreme Court. So here we have the same district court appointed to the Supreme Court. You have the same law schools, because you will find out as we go through this that Justice Jackson, undergraduate Harvard, law school Harvard. So she is going to be the 4th of 9 Harvard graduates on the Supreme Court. And now, President Biden has done a good job of appointing black women to the federal bench. Right now, he's nominated 8 black women to the Circuit Courts of Appeal. 5 of them have been confirmed. Literally, that doubles the amount of black women that are on the Circuit Courts of Appeals. He has not only nominated a black woman, but if she is confirmed, it'll be the first time on the U.S. Supreme Court that we have 2 black Supreme Court justices. So another historic note, because she will join Justice Thomas. President Biden kept his campaign promise of appointing a black woman to the Supreme Court. And he promised that to Jim Clyburn. Now, Jim Clyburn is a House of Representatives member from South Carolina. He is the 3rd highest ranking member in the House of Representatives in the Democratic Party. Many people say that that promise and Jim's endorsement turned the campaign around for President Biden. Because if you remember, his presidency, his nomination was really uncertain. Things were kind of rocky until the South Carolina primary. So he had to do something. So that promise given to that member of the House of Representatives, his endorsement in South Carolina carried President Biden over the top so that he took South Carolina and turned his whole campaign around. So where does she come from? Does she come from humble roots? No. She comes from a lot of the same kind of roots that we see other justices come from. Her father was a lawyer. Her mother, the principal of a school. She went to Harvard and got her BA and her JD. She was on the Harvard Law Review. Like the other Harvard and Yale graduates, they were all on the Law Review, as was Justice Barrett at Notre Dame. She met her husband at Harvard. Her husband is a well-renowned surgeon in the Washington, D.C. area. She has 2 children, and through her husband, she is related to the former Speaker of the House, Ryan, and she's related to Oliver Wendell Holmes, which is a very famous Supreme Court justice of the past. The current Supreme Court justices, 5 of them were clerks of other Supreme Court justices. So of the 9, 5 of them served as clerks. Well, guess what? Judge Jackson was a clerk to Judge Breyer. Justice Breyer is the one she's replacing. She was his clerk many years ago. So now of the 9, 6 of them were former clerks. Do you see a pattern here? Go to Harvard or Yale, become a clerk of a Supreme Court justice, you sure increase your odds of being a Supreme Court justice someday. She was in private practice, which is good, because a lot of judges don't have the experience of being in private practice, having to deal with clients, having to deal with real people. And she had to do that. So that's a good experience for Justice Jackson. She was a public defender, considered to be a real good experience because she represented clients in front of the government. She fought the government every day representing clients of all types, of all economic backgrounds. Well, in fact, not all economic backgrounds because public defenders only represent indigent clients. So she represented indigent clients in fighting against the government. A great qualification for someone that's going to be a Supreme Court justice to understand other people and what their problems are going to be like. She had an uncle, and this is interesting. She had an uncle that was convicted of possession of cocaine. He was sentenced to life in prison. She managed to convince a law firm to represent her uncle, and they got President Obama to commute the sentence so that he did not serve his life sentence because Obama felt that it was too heavy a burden or too heavy a sentence for that type of crime. She served on the United States Sentencing Commission. Most people don't even know what the United States Sentencing Commission is, but that's the commission that sets the rules for recommendations to federal judges on what kind of sentence they should give for each crime. They try to standardize it so that a crime in California, the same type of crime with the same type of characteristics, gets the same sentence as they would get if they were in Miami. And that commission changed the rules while she was on it so that people with crack cocaine convictions didn't get a heavier sentence than people of regular cocaine convictions. Because what they found in the studies was there was a huge disproportionate amount of minorities that were convicted of crack cocaine. And they received a larger sentence or a greater sentence than those convicted of regular cocaine possession. And they felt that was inequitable. So they did away with that. And she's one of the ones that did away with that. So it reduced the sentence of a lot of individuals who were convicted of crack cocaine. She is considered the most progressive of the individuals on the short list. And by progressive, a lot of people will say that also means liberal. But even the New York Times, when it reviewed 500 of her decisions, found her that way and said that she is going to be exactly like Justice Breyer, and therefore she's going to vote with the liberal wing of the Supreme Court when she gets on the court. She is pro-labor, anti-Trump. She has repeatedly made decisions against the Trump administration or against Trump himself on cases that have come before her. She was a district judge from 2013 to 2021. What does that mean? That means she was a trial judge, which means she didn't just sit up in an ivory tower and hear appeals and case law and arguments from lawyers, but she actually tried cases that had actual verdicts, and she actually had to sentence people to prison. She actually had to make decisions about how many dollars someone could get in a civil suit. She knows real life, and that is something you definitely need if you're sitting on the Supreme Court. It's something you would want, it's something I would want. So she was a trial judge for those years. Interestingly enough, she was interviewed by Obama, President Obama, for the seat that he eventually appointed Justice Garland to, but Garland never got confirmed because the Republicans froze his nomination and there was never a vote on it. But she was vetted for that. So when she was appointed to this seat, and when Biden looked at her, she had already been interviewed for a Supreme Court slot before that. And the District Court of Appeals slot that she took in 2021, now think about that. 2013 to 2021, she's a district court judge. In 2021, she gets appointed to the District Court of Appeals, the next higher court up. Whose seat does she take? She takes Garland's seat, because Garland then became Biden's Attorney General. When he got the appointment for Attorney General, he had to resign his District Court of Appeals seat. And also keep in mind, these are lifetime appointments. Garland gave up a lifetime seat on the District Court of Appeals to take a temporary seat as the Attorney General. Some people wonder, has a deal been struck later on where Garland is going to get an appointment before Biden leaves office? We don't know. We do know that by appointing her in 2021 to that seat on the District Court of Appeals, that was just like a stepping stone. She's hardly been there at all. And all of a sudden, she's going from there to the Supreme Court. And another political point that everyone has to remember, by Biden appointing her, and if she gets confirmed, what does that do? That moves her up to the Supreme Court. What does that also do? It makes a vacancy in the District Court of Appeals. So that means he gets another appointment. He's going to be able to put another judge on the District Court of Appeals. So he gets a twofer there. So he gets two appointments by taking one action and elevating that one person up to the Supreme Court. So what kind of judge is she going to be? I've told you what the New York Times has said by analyzing 500 of her past decisions. Let me just give you a sampling of some of her decisions. She enjoined the government under President Trump from terminating grants for teenage pregnancy prevention. She ruled against Trump when the AFL-CIO sued Trump because Trump's executive orders limited collective bargaining. She ruled for the AFL-CIO and enjoined Trump from enforcing those executive orders. In the Judiciary Committee versus GAHM, he was White House counsel. The Judiciary Committee had subpoenaed him as part of the January 6th investigation. Trump said, no, he can't testify, I'm claiming executive privilege. She ruled against Trump and said, nope, you can't do that. He has to appear before that January 6th committee. And that is still being appealed right now. We don't know if it's going to be reversed or not. Of the 600 opinions that she has written, only 12 of them have been reversed thus far. So, what do we know about her? We know that she is going to fit right in with the existing Supreme Court justices as far as backgrounds. They're going to be politically diverse. We all know that. We all know that there's a liberal wing and a conservative wing. But she is certainly well qualified. She's certainly extremely bright. Her intellect is without question. From what I've read, She is a very calm and deliberative person, so she is not subject to outbursts or losing her temper. So she's going to be very cool and collected on the bench. She's going to give intelligent arguments for her side. Previous videos have talked about how they go into that conference room and it's just the 9 of them, and they sit around and they hash it out. She is going to be just fine in that conference room, and she'll be able to hold her own. Although I would have liked to see more diversity, I think that some of these other progressives may not be as progressive as she is, as the progressive liberals might say. And I also like Childs because of her background. I think she is going to do the job. You cannot question her intellect and her ability. I think what really is going to happen at the Senate committees is they're going to question her bias and prejudice, and they're going to question whether or not she has preconceived notions that are going to be against what some senators believe is the cross-section of America and how America feels a Supreme Court justice should be. Because remember, there's different philosophies. We talked about this in prior videos. There's the philosophies of Supreme Court justices that believe they are activists, that they are people who can change what's going on in the culture, and that that's part of their job. And then you've got those that are strict constructionalists that believe the Constitution was written a certain way for a certain purpose. You can't change its meaning, and it just sits there and looks at you, and you have to rule based on the way it was written. Justice Scalia once put it this way. He believes that the Constitution is a rock. Progressives believe it is like a bottle. The shape stays the same, but you can fill the inside of it with a different liquid periodically in order for it to conform to what the culture says it should conform to. So that's what's going to happen. That's the differences. We're going to see her as being, I think, very active. She's going to be an active questioner, which is very interesting because Justice Thomas hardly ever asks a question. So we're going to see her as an active questioner. So thanks for joining us again on The Lawyer You Know. We hope this gave you some insight on the individual that has been appointed or nominated to the Supreme Court. And if you have any questions, please let us know. If you like this video, please subscribe. And thank you again for joining The Lawyer You Know.
Thanks for watching this episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you like this content, please share it with your friends. Make sure you subscribe to our page and like our videos. If you want some interaction, get in the comments and we'll be sure to get back to you. If you want to know any more information about our firm or this page, you can find out in the description or visit tragoslaw.com. We post multiple times throughout the week, so make sure you hit that bell so you can get the notification and not miss out on the next episode.